mud-soaked boots sparking under the dawn. Ride in my hand, casting lines till they gone. Crickets chirping, beef frogs humming the bass. Got hooks in the water, dreams in this space. Reel it back slow, feel the tug pull hard. Backwater Georgia, fishing stars in the yard. Sunset gold is painting the flow. Crank that line, let the country trap blow. Cypress shadows stretch, a scene soaked in grime. Moving that bobber like it's keeping through time. Bass jumps wild, a fighting outlaw streak. Georgia's waters talking, hear the river peak. Lantern glow, flicker, fireflies on high. Sip on the stillness, the moon's my alibi. Bait box heavy, but patient, steady. Beats in my soul, 808 stay.
Welcome, kayak anglers. You are tuning into the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network, kayak fishing's best network of shows with great hosts covering all things kayak fishing, bringing you special guests covering topics such as shore fishing, river trips, gear reviews, angler profiles, tournament news, and more. Sit back, relax, let's do this.
Hey, and let's do this on a Wednesday night here in Southeast Georgia. Welcome to the Reel Backwaters Podcast. Just to let you know, my guest is running a little late. He works a little late, but he's trying to get here. But we're going to kick this thing off anyway. Get to talking about some things that's happening in the fishing industry, in the fishing world. Cheaters being exposed while we're waiting on our guest. So y'all stay tuned, and we'll bring this right back with you. Welcome back. Like I said, we're just going to talk a little bit till we get our guest here on site. Not on site, but on StreamYard. Yeah. Here in Southeast Georgia, man, the weather has been crazy. We've had some severe thunderstorms move through every afternoon. Fishing's been, I can't say horrible because I ain't been, but yeah, it's bad that you ain't been fishing, right? But let's talk about something that hit the kayak tournament scene here recently out of South Carolina. With the SCYAC tournament, and the tournament director is Mr. Travis. Travis does fishing on YouTube. He sent me a message exposing a cheater. I'm not going to say the cheater's name. Has been blasted all over the internet and all over the social media. And Mr. Dwayne Wally from Tourney X has also banned him off Tourney X for life. So if you're listening to this next couple of days, next couple of weeks, next couple of months, and you see his name pop up in a tournament, just to kind of be courtesy to the tournament director and tell him that he's been caught cheating in other tournaments. But with that being said, the way that he was cheating is he was taking fish, put them in the cooler, then taking them with him on the kayak, and then measure them. If everybody knows what a dead fish looks like in a kayak or in a cooler, there's very distinctive markings and things associated with a dead fish. As a TD here myself, I could tell right off the rip that the fish was dead. So most of the time you can just tell by the eye of the fish that it's been kept in a cooler on ice. The fish is not alive. Some other things are the fins. especially the tail fin comes translucent. You can almost read a newspaper through it. So people don't cheat. If you have to cheat, don't fish. Man, it's because it ruins your reputation as an angler, um, and it puts bad mojo in the industry itself. We know that there's been a lot of cheating going on for a long, long time. Other things are being exposed on the internet. There was some guy, I can't think of his name. I saw some guy on a short or something was explaining it, that this guy was winning bass boat tournaments, had hired a family friend or somebody to scuba dive to hide under docks with a bag of fish. He would throw his jig in there or worm, and the guy would take the fish out the bag, put it on. He won several big tournaments in the bass boat industry. Um, we can go back to putting weights down fish's throats and stuff like that, but there's no place in the world to cheat in anything, um, in life, in fishing, in work, anything. It doesn't get you very far. It ruins your integrity, your moral values as a person, and you really want to keep that as a person. So we, as fellow anglers, tried to expose them people, especially tournament directors. I'm glad Travis caught it, and because there's a lot of clubs in the South Carolina area where they fish. Um, then you've got some other clubs that are associated close to Georgia, or in the Georgia, South Carolina area. So there's no telling how many times he's done this in the past. But I just kind of wanted to thank thank Travis for sending me the message, um, and also in things other than other TDs letting other TDs know, but letting the whole industry know. Um, and other anglers know that way if they're fishing under other tournaments and this guy joins the tournament, then so. But yeah, if you're in the chat, if you're listening to me, watching me, or anything like this right now, I'm just rambling on. um my guest is running a little late tonight. Hopefully he'll be here within the next 10-15 minutes, um and we can get to talking some fishing. But yeah, it's the fishing industry itself, man. It's moving right along. I think we're getting into the artificial intelligence stuff as far as fishermen go, um, things like that. Got some people asking me and asking me if I use AI. I use AI to not generate content, but to help write titles and descriptions, things like that. You can get ideas from AI as well. If you're a YouTuber or a content creator, you can AI can help you along a little bit. See what's happening in the world. You can ask AI anything; it's going to pull it right off the web without you having to go. So so we can use AI for a lot of things in life. Is it going to take over the world? Probably so. Probably not in my lifetime or your lifetime. Um, but yeah, um, but yeah, it's kind of kind of weird that we've come to the 2025 year mark. I can remember back in 2000, working 1999, the year of 1999. Um, the night of January 1 of 2000. And, the world was going, oh, the computers are going to go berserk and everything's going to shut down and things like that. It was kind of funny, but we've moved on for that 25 years later. So, I'd like to welcome Tim Williams. If y'all don't know Tim's a bait maker down in Florida. Max Thunderstruck Baits is his company. Makes plastics, stuff like that. I'll give him a shout on Instagram and things like that. But yeah, I did a video today, a little short video on what's in my tackle box challenge, and I'm trying to challenge people to post what's in their tackle box. I'm not talking 3 hour long video. I'm talking about 30 to 45 seconds. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, anything like that, let's post a little short video, get this thing kicked off, and challenge all the fishermen in the industry in the world to kind of hit what's in their tackle box. I think it's just a little neat idea, something I came up with the other week, things like that. So drop them. What you said, your tackle box is better than mine. You're probably right, because my stuff's sitting over here in the garage, and it hadn't even been in the kayak in a couple of weeks. I hadn't been fishing. I need to get back to fishing a little bit. But yeah, it's so who my guest tonight is Hank. If y'all know Hank, y'all probably know him as the BassGeek. He's a good fella, got good information on his YouTube channel, things like that. So we're just waiting for him to get home. I know he messaged me yesterday saying that he might have to run a little late. When he shows up, we'll get him on. We'll get him in the cast. Things like that. But yeah, Tim. Tim's asking me if I'm going to ICAST this year. I don't know yet. Hadn't heard anything back from all my fellows from the Paddle and Fin Network. So I don't know if John, and I know Brian. I think Brian Schiller and his crew from Dubro Fishing will be there. I think they're doing another booth this year with all their Dubro Fishing accessories and Dewey baits and stuff like that. I know Pure Fishing, which is a conglomerate of companies that fall under Pure Fishing. I think they're not going. I hadn't even looked at the list this year to see who's all going to be down there. I know for sure that I will be wearing walking shoes if I go this year, and some shorts and a t-shirt. It was slap hot down in Florida last year in July. But yeah, it's, as a whole, ICAST is, I guess a lot of people think ICAST is overrated, but because you kind of see all kind of things and You see new stuff, old stuff. But it's where, if you don't know what iCast is, it's where all the box stores kind of sign all their contracts to have purchase merchandise from the sellers or the companies that make the product. So if you and I tell anybody in the fishing industry, if you have a chance to go experience it one time. It's nice. Um, I think I've covered this in another video about iCast last year, and when I came back, I was impressed about how fast things get put up, how shipments of big companies ship their stuff there. So, but yeah, let's go back to this tackle challenge, this tackle box challenge. We're I think it's a good idea. Just kind of get people out of their shell to get on video. Um, as most of y'all know that watch me and been listening to me for the last couple months, I announced that I'm taking my YouTube stuff serious and going to push forward with it. Been taking some courses of how to do SEO stuff on YouTube and how to make better thumbnails, how to get it's endless stuff of YouTube um, stuff out there. But I've got, like I said, I've got a book over here about YouTube success and just trying to um, get get better at YouTube. Um, Shooting, you shooting a video, you shooting your B-roll for the video, you're coming home, you're editing it for a couple hours. You're trying to get everything synced up just right. It takes time. Um, and trying to get people to watch your content is hard. It's really hard, especially in the fishing world, because there's so many YouTubers out there that are fishing. You know, I think some of the beginner YouTubers, probably like the Guggen Squad, John B, and One Rod One Reel guys. Golly, who's out there? Kicking Their Bass, Noah. Kicking Their Bass TV, Noah. I think he's over 1 million viewers now, or 1 million subscribers. So that's a heck of accomplishment, being over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Um, but they do a lot of weird and funky stuff. I would call it. Um, Now you've got, one of the fastest grower. I think in my opinion, I think one of the fastest growing YouTubers right now is Fishing with Smalls. Um, him and I don't know, golly, I just went blank on my YouTube guys. Um, AO Fishing, and they got fishing baby gravy with them. So, but yeah, they do all them YouTubers. They do a lot of challenges. Walmart challenges. I think Noah with Kicking Their Bass TV and Fletcher the Fisherman, they just did a restaurant challenge where they bought an appetizer, main course, and a dessert, and try to catch fish with all three. Uh, that's not. I don't think that's me as a YouTuber. Yeah, you got Norm as well with that section. Um, Golly, you can name a lot of them. Lojo, all them guys. Um, but yeah, everybody is trying to. I wouldn't say copy everybody, but it's to a point where if you see one YouTuber do it, they get 100,000 views. Another YouTuber is going to do kind of the same thing. It's called an outlier video. If y'all don't know YouTube lingo, them are called outlier videos. So you kind of do your research on outlier videos and things like that. But yeah, it's YouTube is hard. It's it's definitely hard, definitely time consuming, because you're sitting down and I keep a notepad. Yeah, I can show you. This is my notepad. This is everything that I try to come up with and try to get ideas, and I just write it down. But uh, um, so if anybody wants to join me on the podcast right quick while we're waiting on Hank, I can send you the link. Um, we can get you on here. So um, just let me know in the chat if you want to join me right quick. We can put you on the podcast while we're waiting on Hank to get here. Um, so yeah, it's the YouTube industry is there to stay. I'll go ahead and tell you. I can tell you two things. Is the two top search engines in the world, Google and YouTube. Um, Heck, I was at work the other day and assisting a motorist, and they had a car that I wasn't familiar with, and guess what? Well, guess what my search was on YouTube? How to find the key fob, where to stick the key fob at to get the car crunk, because their key fob was dead. So you had to insert it into a certain place of the car, and so the car cranked. So if you want to find out anything about fishing, you can go on YouTube. You can golly, Gene Jensen is probably in his early days. I heard him speak a while back about his early days of YouTube, and how he got so big on YouTube was doing how to's, pretty much people telling people how to fish certain baits, what time of year to fish them, um, how to rig them. So um, and actually, the the guy that I'm kind of taking the YouTube course from, is that's one thing, is how to's are real big, DIYs are real big. So I'm not telling you anything new that anybody else will tell you, but it's uh it's out there. You can learn it. Take your time and just read, do your research, things like that. So y'all tell me in the chat how your fishing's been, if you've been fishing, what you're catching, what you're not catching. Um, I really want to go catch some peacock bass down in South Florida, some exotics. I might have to take Christina on a trip with me, and we'll go catch some exotics. That's my bucket list fish is a peacock bass, that and a smallmouth. But I can travel up to the Savannah Shoals and get your smallmouth. Y'all like my cup? It says husband and wife drinking buddies for life. So, but yeah, we'll I guess Hank got tied up at work. Um, Let me message him right quick and see where if he's gonna make it or not. If not, we'll keep talking and see if we can keep talking fishing. I don't have nothing new to show you. I hadn't bought anything new lately, but I can tell you that me and Tyler Bean went fishing a couple weeks ago. He let me try his new canoe U10 out, and that's a nice little kayak if you're looking for a smaller kayak. And it a shore fly with an NK on it on the back of it too. But very maneuverable. Even my big butt had room in it. It's I think it's like 10 foot 6 inches, 10.6 or 10.8, something like that. But we'll yeah, he's on his way, folks. So we'll get him on here. And we'll bring him on, and we'll continue to run with this thing. We might be over an hour tonight. Bring him on and let him talk about his life and what's going on up in I think he's from like Tennessee, West Virginia line area. He might be on one side of the mountain, West Virginia on the other side of the mountain. But yeah, it's I hate summertime here in the South. It's just too dang hot. You know, the fish don't bite. You just want to stay in the AC, drink cold water, sweet tea, cold beer, whatever. You can't even go swimming because the water's staying hot. We went swimming the other night in the swimming pool, and I bet the water was like 80 degrees. So, but yeah, it's I thought I heard thunder, but must be my neighbors. I'm gonna take this phone call right quick, fellas. Yellow. All right, man. I'm just rambling away on YouTube. Hey, hey, you're good, man. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, no problem. All right, bye. Old Hank will be hanging with us in about 5 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, he said. Uh-oh. I lost my phone on my earplug here. But yeah, Tim, yeah, I did get kicked out of the house, and um this is my garage, what you see here. You can see the kayak and boxes piled up on it. But yeah, it's but we'll make it. We will make it. But yeah, it's I'm glad y'all were hanging with me. I know y'all want to see BassGeek. Y'all don't want to see my ugly face and me talk all night. But he's getting there. He's getting home and getting crap. And fixing to get on here, and we'll get this thing started with him and things like that. But yeah, when you live in a small place, and I tell you, if you live in a small place and you just kind of have to make do with what you got. And we live in a little cottage type home, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. So we just downsized, got the heck out of an area where they were building a big Hyundai plant down here, and it's just crazy how a big industry plant like that can ruin a small town. Hey, welcome Southwest Indiana Outdoors. If you're just joining us on the cast, Mr. Hank BassGeek himself will be here shortly. We're just doing some rambling and some just shooting the crap here. We'll get everything going and get him on the cast and things like that. So, but yeah, how's the fishing up in Indiana, man? I hope y'all having better luck, better weather, a little cooler weather up there, I hope. Nah, I ain't been on the water lately. It's been work, work, and work. Um, I hear you smashing them on a frog on a Monday night. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to probably do. I'm heading back to night shift here next week. Um, so I might try to do some night fishing. Get on the water about 7, 8 o'clock at night and do some night fishing and just throw a buzz bait, throw a frog. What else? A par, a whopper plopper. Yeah, Tim, I do still got them big worms with the rattler in them. I'm texting the geek here. I'm trying to. Gonna have to resend him the link here. But yeah, Tim, I threw some last year. I think I caught 1 or 2 fish on them. I wasn't really big fish, but summer is among us here in the South, and um, so I'll break them out. I finally found me some bigger hooks that I could rig them on. Yeah, so yeah, I've got me some big 8/0 offset hooks that I can rig them big worms with. So I think he's about to hop on, fellas and ladies, and whoever's listening. We'll get this thing rocking and rolling with the geek. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a 13-inch worm. Sorry, Tim. I thought it was a 10-inch. It's a 13-inch. It's a monster, I tell you that. I really wanted to throw it in the rivers down here, but I'm afraid that them big mudfish would get on them. But I'm gonna try them out in the river. I'm gonna try them out in the river down here when the river gets right. Um, Hey, Southwest Indiana, are you going to be fishing the KAS, the Kayak Adventure Series up there that way? I think Drew and them are coming up. Either is it this weekend or next weekend? I don't. I think it's this weekend up there. Um, I know he's got a kayak adventure series up that way. All right, I think we got Mr. BassGeek, Mr. Hank himself, finally in his captain's chair. I know he was hauling tail home, so we'll go ahead and break him in here and let y'all get to know Mr. Hank himself. What is up, Mr. BassGeek?
How's it going, man? I am so sorry about that. I am so sorry.
You good, man? We'll it ain't no big deal, man. We live in life here and just chatting away, just talking some fishing, things like that. So, man, we're gonna get you introduced to the Reel Backwaters Podcast here with Paddle and Fin Network. So we're just gonna kind of let you introduce yourself and get this thing rolling and things like that.
Well, mainly I do a YouTube channel. I mean, called BassGeek. I work. See, you got me in work attire. No hat, the whole 9 yards right now. Like I said, I apologize for that. Work was quiet for the past 3 days, and then you know how it goes. Last 5 minutes, things go crazy. So,
oh yeah, they go berserk.
Kind of the way it works, and but yeah, man, I'm from the very western tip of Virginia. I live right on the border between Virginia and Tennessee, and I fish a lot of highlands, like ultra clear fisheries, and get down to the Tennessee River once in a while. It's about 3, depending on which lake you're going to, 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Down towards Knox, Vegas. So, man, it's that's really about it. There ain't a whole lot to it. I like to go fishing. I mean, that's about as simple as it gets.
Hey, that's right. The way I found you, Hank, was I was doing a YouTube search a while up 3 or 4 years ago on Scrounger head fishing.
Oh yeah.
And your video popped up, and that's how I found you. And I started watching it. I was like, man, this guy's way up there you can see the mountainside beside the lake, and
yeah.
I'm like, where in the hell is he fishing at?
I always tell everybody, when I was growing up, because I'm old. You can tell by the gray starting to come in now. I always just tell everybody, man, where I live up here in the mountains, the thing about it is it's, you'd always read Bassmaster magazine. And I'd try to figure out how to winter fish. They'd be like, well, you want to look for those 45-degree banks. But the problem is they're either 45 or 90 where I fish at most time. They ain't no flats. Everything's steep and deep. So,
yeah, it's I've never really did no mountain lake fishing at all. I'm down here in South Georgia near the coast.
Yeah.
Down around Savannah, and it's like flat.
Yeah. I've been down there a lot. Love Savannah.
Yeah, it's and you know what? So I don't saltwater fish. No.
I'd have to do a little saltwater fishing if I was down there. Like I said, I'm 5 to 6 hours away from the coast, so I don't get a lot of chance. And then when I do, most time I'm just sitting on the beach drinking beer. So I'm trying to take a relaxing vacation if I go that way.
Oh, for sure. That's but yeah, so kind of I've got 3 questions for the podcast tonight, but we'll get into it. But yourself does a podcast as well. You're on the podcast with
Brian and the BassCast. I do the BassCast radio. Yeah. I just kind of co-host, drop in here and there.
Right. So if y'all are listening and watching, go over and join the BassCast. They do it on YouTube. They do a live show. It's Brian's a great guy. I've talked with Brian before.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, and very knowledgeable about the bass industry itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's so I've got one question. Are you making it to Orlando this year? For like,
Yeah, man. Got the hotel booked. We'll be down there. Maybe the last ICAST. I don't believe that. There's too many. Listen, I think everybody thinks about ICAST as in the big vendors, and I mean, they buy up a lot and spend a lot of money, no doubt. And Pure Fishing's not going to be down there. They got their own little thing there, or is it South Carolina, somewhere like that now?
yeah,
And but you've still got a ton. The vast majority of vendors and people there are smaller companies, and those smaller companies can't get their wares in front of a lot of those buyers, because for anybody that doesn't know, ICAST is not really, it's really not about just unveiling the new baits, but it's a place where like Tackle Warehouse and Pittman Creek and all these buyers look at the new products and make deals. Almost like all your big companies, their booths, they have offices built in, so they'll be in the office working on paperwork and signing deals for sales for the future. Now they release those new baits because they're trying to hook in those companies that'll sell. They're making that cast.
that's right. Yeah, I used to work for the Walmart Loss Prevention Division.
Oh,
Back in my younger days, and we in Bentonville, Arkansas, Walmart has a big warehouse that's probably 1 million square foot warehouse, and that's what they do. They bring all these companies in, don't charge them anything, and that's where Walmart makes all their deals at. It's just almost like the SHOT Show they hold out in Vegas. If you're a hunter, a big gun enthusiast, that's what they do out. Daniel Defense is just right down the road from me, and I know some of their guys, and that's where they go every year to make their deals in Vegas.
Yeah.
So
that's there's a lot of stuff that I think they could do better. Like, why are you having it in the middle of July? Vacation High Point in Orlando.
yeah,
And
what happened last year was people, this nice thing called a hurricane started coming up to Florida, and they started canceling flights, and people stranded down there. I'm like, I had one of my fellow, Randy Newton. I don't know if you know him, but he used to be with the Paddle and Fin Network, but he's kind of dipped out a little bit and went his way. He got stranded down there, and I said, "Man, do I need to come pick you up and get you to Savannah at least, to get you on the airplane in Savannah?"
Well, the good news is, I guess, at least for me, I'm driving, so that's about a 12-hour drive for me.
Ooh. Yeah, it's about 4.5 for me. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good time if I can make it this year. Hopefully I can, and kind of see some few people I need to see at least.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, we got to get down there and shake babies and kiss hands too. That's.
But yeah, it's it'll be a good time, even though if it might be their last one, it'll be held somewhere.
I just think the industry's always going to have some sort of big get together to where, they're gonna hawk their wares, I guess you could say.
That's right. So kind of break us down, and what do you? Let me ask you a question, Hank, and give me your honest opinion. What do you think that most anglers? What are the biggest mistakes that anglers make while they're bass fishing? Let me ask you that.
I think the biggest mistakes, because I mean, let's face it. Let's talk from a weekend warrior standpoint, because that's really what I still am. You know, I'm still working full time, as you can tell. And Trevor, you're right. I did just get off work. That's why I made this man late. I was late for him. I hate being late. It really does drive me insane.
It's all good.
But you know, weekend warriors, the guys that get out there, you know, once, twice a week, or even less. And I think our biggest mistake, and I can put myself in that boat, is we don't spend enough time exploring other patterns. We tend to know our home lake and know the bite that's going on and know the bait that they bit for the past 4 years. And we don't experiment enough with offshoots or other areas or other patterns during that time of year. I think that's one of our biggest problems. We get in that rut, especially, you know, I'm 51, man, and you know, I call myself an old head, and I like to, sometimes I just like to go do those things that I like to go do and force feed those bass, whether it works, and a lot of times it don't.
Yeah, I think as anglers, you know, weekend warriors especially, you know, they're fishing their club tournament maybe once a month. They're working the rest of the time. They might go out another weekend in that month.
Yeah.
Is they don't have enough time on the water, and
Yeah.
time on the water is a big thing. And you know, if I'm fishing a body of water and I've known I caught fish in that area, you know, with electronics nowadays, you know, you can waypoint it and kind of it saves information for you. But back in the day, you know, if you're an old timer, you know, you had to know lakes and bodies of water and knew where them fish were being held at during that time of year. And I think I find myself throwing the same baits over and over and over.
Exactly.
You know, and I try to tell myself, look, I need to just leave every rod at home, take me a swim bait rod, take the big swim bait box, and just go with that one day, and just hammer away.
Now, see, I'm gonna argue, because I think that's a horrible idea, and I tell people this all the time. And never just take one rod. But if you're going to go out and learn, like, let's talk about hard swim baits, because this is the bait that I hear people talk about with that all the time. If you're going to learn how to fish a hard swim bait, let's remember that's a hard bait. I don't care how good it looks in the water, it's a hard bait. It will never look as natural as 90% of the soft baits, soft plastics. So I always tell people, make sure you understand the difference between a hard bait and a soft bait and when they work best. You know, we put a spy bait video out the other day. That's a subtle, finessey technique, but it's a hard bait. That's a bait that I've actually used now for years, fishing deep ledges for largemouth. And a lot of people don't talk about that. But that's one of the things when it's bluebird sky, bright, clear water, dead slick calm, guess what? I'm not pulling out of the box. And that's the same way with a hard bait. If I'm going to give you one piece of advice for anybody that wants to learn how to fish a big, hard, you know, swim bait, wait till it's that day where it's cloudy or windy. And, you know, the same conditions that you're going to look for a spinner bait or an A rig or something like that, or a crankbait. You know, I know a lot of people are like, well, big swim bait in, you know, clear water, but even that's not really, if it's dead slick calm, bluebird sky, you still want some stain, you know, to that water to break up the profile of that bait.
Right.
To me, that's a big deal. And then what you said about electronics, you know, I've preached this for years, well before Live Scope. And I've got Live Scope. I love it. And one of the reasons why I love it so much is because the things that I am learning from it about both proving right what we've thought in the past and proving wrong what we thought in the past. And it's, I think everybody gets hung up on you can go out in open water and catch those fish that's never been touched. But in my area, that's just not true. They have been touched for years. We've been fishing, you can go back and actually look at suspended ledge baits that I've done probably 8 years ago when I was going, hey, I know all those pros and everybody are telling you those bass on the bottom are the active ones, but they're full of crap. They don't know what they're talking about. You need to learn how to fish for those suspended bass because they're not out there recovering. They're out there feeding on that shad, those big balls of shad that's over top of them, you see.
That's right.
And the ones that are on the bottom have done fed. So,
they're down
but
there.
I always tell people
in the mud.
Yeah, and I always tell people, look, you should, if you're a weekend warrior, go out and get the best electronics you can afford. Up until last year, or 2 years ago, when I finally was able to buy a new boat, my first ever new boat, I don't know how old was I then, 48. I had a 98 Triton that I bought 20 years ago. And the graphs on it were worth more than the boat was. So, but if you go out and you go fishing, you have to look. I love fishing. I'm lucky enough to live in a very beautiful part of the country, with the mountains. So I can walk outside and see a beautiful scenery. When I go to the lake, I want to catch fish. That's the only reason I'm there. And I'm good with any tool that helps me figure out what these bass are doing. And I think, spending money on good electronics and learning how to use them after is the best way for the weekend warrior to really go out and get the most out of his day.
Right. Talking about the weekend guy, I think weekend guys tend to spend too much time on YouTube.
Yeah.
And try to listen to all these pros tell, these pros have got thousands and thousands of hours.
Yeah.
Right. So if you took one like Dustin Connell for,
if
you took him and said, okay, let's go fish up in your home lake, Hank, and he'd probably know, okay, well, we need to, he can motor around with electronics and say, okay, this is where the fish are going to be. But if you're just a weekend warrior guy and if you took me up to your home lake, I'd be totally lost. Now, can I use electronics? Yeah, I can use electronics. I can read electronics. But am I going to be able to pick up that rod off the deck and say, okay, this is the best light today?
Exactly. And that would be the same way for me down there. Your lakes are a lot flatter. There's a lot, there's a lot more color to the water down there, and for me, that's going to be, I'm going to have to take a bit to figure that out.
Yeah. It's definitely a way for, and I tell people this all the time. People, I have people at work ask me, man, I see you posting all them pictures with fish and you're catching fish. How do you do it? Man, first of all, I put time in.
Yes.
And I might not spend as much time on the water that I need to right now because my butt ain't sweating in 90-degree weather. No.
See, this is where me and you, we separate because listen, I'm out there now, mind you, most of the time during the summer, it's my favorite time to fish because they group up in big groups. And you can set your watch by it. 9 a.m. they're feeding. Once the sun comes up and it kind of calms down, 9 a.m. they're feeding. And if you know where to go find those schools and you can get on them, man, you can have a heck of a day by noon, and then it's wings and beer. You're on your way home.
Yeah, that's it. Fishing here in Georgia, probably my favorite time of the year is probably, everybody's going to fish springtime because it's fun.
Yeah.
But I like fishing early fall.
Mm.
When the temperatures are about 68, 69, 70 degrees, somewhere around in there. The low temperatures at night are reaching probably the high 50s. And I tend to catch bigger and more fish then in the fall.
See, for us, they tend to scatter out everywhere.
Right.
So once you start getting into the fall, you've got some that are 50 feet deep, some that are, against the bank, some that are out in the middle roaming, and it becomes this, you just got to kind of run into them and be like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And so it gets very hit or miss.
So what is your favorite bait to throw up there in the West Virginia, Tennessee area this time of year?
For me, this time of year, well, so we're not in full summer swing right now. I still call us post spawn. So we still got some shad spawning. The bluegills are just now coming up on the beds. Our water temps are just now, and we're really about 2 weeks behind. It's been a little colder up here than normal. And so, we're still in that post spawn, when the shad and the bluegills are pulling up. So the water temps are just now hitting that 71, 72 degree. We still got probably 2-3 weeks before we get to the good, them moving out deep. Right now it's junk fishing because again, you've got the bluegill. So yeah, you might throw a big swim bait. You might throw a wacky rig. You've got the shad spawn. It might be a chatterbait or a spinner bait or a swim bait. So it could be everything. Now, once they move out deep, the very first thing I'm throwing is a soft plastic, somewhere in that 5 to 7 inch swim bait with a jig head, because we're going to get it down on the bottom. We're going to contour those ledges, those points, those humps, whatever.
Yeah. So my, we're full summer right now here.
Yeah.
Down here. So, early morning, probably top water.
Yeah.
Buzz baits, poppers, frogs.
See, the top water hasn't really gotten good here yet. I know like down on Douglas, it's gotten good, which Douglas is a little more, it's kind of that tweener, right. It's not, it's still considered a highland, but it's lower than the lakes up here closer to me, that I fish. So, a little bit dirtier, a lot dirtier most of the time.
Yeah.
So there's starting to be some top water there, but we won't see really good top water until they start grouping up and roaming out in the open water.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then, me and Tim was talking earlier. He made me some 13-inch curly tail worms.
Oh yeah.
With a rattler, and it's got a rattle in it. And he was asking if I fished it this year yet, and I said no, I haven't fished it yet. I was trying to find me some bigger worm hooks.
Yeah.
You just can't throw that on about a 3 or 4 hook.
No.
So I found me some 7 or 8 to put in there. So that's what I'll be throwing here shortly, is dragging that thing on a.
Yeah. See, we're still, that's more of a, I know on Douglas, so I know the MPFL was on Douglas, and I know they won it flipping, like the deep bite hadn't started up yet. Right. So from what I understand, generally what happens is once they first get out there, you get a spoon bite, a big spoon bite, and you get a crankbait bite. And then, so I've heard they're on the spoon and the crank right now. So I haven't been down there yet. But then, it'll probably be July, when they really start to, when it gets warm enough to where they're on that where you pretty much have to throw something where you're dragging either a football jig or a big worm or or a big scrounger out there, with a jerky J on it, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So how do you go? This is another question to move on with the cast here, Hank, is, as an angler, how do you break down a new body of water? What do you do if you're fishing a lake for a tournament and you've never been to that lake? What are you going to do as an angler?
I'm going to find the stuff that I like. Number one, right off the bat. I like, this time of year, I think everybody thinks about Main Lake. So let's say we're in full summer swing. And I think everybody thinks about Main Lake because everybody's been told to think about Main Lake. But I think what a lot of people forget, as long as you've got some pretty good deep water, is those first thirds of those creeks. A lot of those bass never move past that. And you can get up in those creeks and find those offshore bass too. And to me, summertime is about 2 bites. So it's, are you going to fish that first third to Main Lake, or are you going to go run the river in the moving water in the creeks?
Yeah.
And, depending on your style and the type of body of water, those are the 2 things you want to look for. In the summer, it's moving water, grass, or deep water. Those are the 3 things. And, I'm a deep water guy. So I'm going to go looking for a creek that's got a lot of swings, hard swings in it, or at least 1 or 2. Something that I can start to look at, something where spawning flats are going to be nearby, something where there's going to be maybe some docks or some sort of, the hard grass, that the shad are going to spawn on. I'm going to look for that sort of shad, those shad spawn areas, whether it might be bluff walls or sea walls. I'm going to look for that sort of stuff. I'm going to look for those shad. Especially right now, I'm going to look for, because there's a couple of patterns, especially in clear water. You can get out there on structure and fish. But what happens is once you can find those small balls of shad fry that have just hatched, a lot of times what will happen, sure, there'll be some bass around those and you'll catch them. But out there where that bigger bass is that spawn those shad fry, you're going to get roamers out there.
Right.
And if you can find schools of them in the clear water, that's going to be great. Now, if it's dirtier water, a lot of times they're going to relate more to, that structure, long points, creek channel ledges, that sort of stuff. Now, if I've got a lake where, that's not really, a game you can play out there in that deep, I'm going to run as far up the creeks and rivers that's got active water and the most flow that I can get in. And I'm going to hopefully find some late bluegill spawners and bluegill beds, and we're going to go flipping and throwing buzz baits, and, we're going to go straight old school. So.
Yeah, that's, do you, let me ask you this. Do you use any kind of apps to kind of help you, Google Maps, Omnia?
Yeah, I use, so it used to be Navionics, number one.
Right.
I've got, Garmin bought them. So I've got the Garmin app on the phone to do some map study. Of course, we use Google Earth,
Right.
Google Earth, not on the phone because you can't go back in time on it. You have to use it on a PC.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, a an app that has really blown me away, and shout out to my buddy Ben down in South Carolina for turning me on to this, the Deep Dive app. And what I like about it, it's got barometric pressure, which is so hard to find, shows when it's rising, when it's falling, got the wind on it, which I love, because if I'm going to be fishing in shallower water, especially as the day goes on, I want to know where those banks are that wind's hitting. His shows clean or dirty water, like, watercolor, but that's it can be a little behind depending on the lake you're on. But I love it. It shows weather conditions, moon phase. So, and when you're still in the season that I'm in right now, when you're talking about, the bluegills spawning and the shad spawning, those full moons still mean a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're looking for, if you're looking for brim beds,
yeah,
and in shallower water or on a flat somewhere,
mm-hmm.
That full moon is, I've always loved fishing a full moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially tournament scenes. A full moon is hammer, especially if you can find some shell beds that have shell crackers on them or brim,
yep.
or things like that. So it's because them bass are going to be right there with them.
Oh yeah.
I think,
and a lot of times the big ones are going to be the panfish eaters. They're going to be the bigger bass.
Yeah, I think, golly, looking back at Gerald Swindle's videos, I think when they were fishing Lake Fork, he was fishing on some brim beds, and he was catching some tanks.
Yeah,
on a shaky head.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's it's beginning to get. I think the fishing get right down here in South Georgia. I just think we just need to get rid of these damn storms that come up in the afternoons down here.
Yeah. That's just summer.
Yeah.
Once you get into summer up here, it's every day is 50% chance of thunderstorms. The weathermen don't even have to try. It's like, it'll be 50% chance of thunderstorms all week.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
That's just for your viewing area. Your viewing area could be like 900 square miles, right?
Yeah.
50%. And that 50% is going to hit right here where I want to fish at.
Yeah.
But yeah, so golly, Hank, how long you been doing YouTube, man?
I was looking at that today. I actually started January 12th was my first upload of 2016. So longer than I'd probably like at this point.
My YouTube journey has only been, I think, about maybe 5 years now. So
yeah.
And my podcasting thing is only, this is my third season. So I really didn't get into podcasts. I got into podcasting late, as people say, but yeah, it's YouTube is a beast. So kind of tell me your journey on YouTube, and just kind of why'd you start on YouTube?
Well, I mean, I kind of started on YouTube. Like, I didn't really ever want to do YouTube because, I watched a lot of YouTube, back then, there wasn't too many people out there, Tactical Bass and, Fluke Master, maybe one or two of the Googans had started out at that point. And, of course, BASS would throw some stuff out there every once in a while. And, I mean, I would watch stuff, and just so happens, like, I coached football at my local high school for about 13 years, and I was offensive defensive line coach, and I like watching game film, and so happens Tactical Bassing one day was like, even if you don't want to start a YouTube channel, get you a GoPro. It's pretty interesting. You can kind of watch it for game film, and you'll really be surprised. And of course, when they said game film, my ears peaked up, and I was like, So, I snuck out the old football team's handy cam after a game one night and strapped it to the back seat of my trusty Triton. And, went out and filmed. And this was back when the A-Rig, first really hit the scene, a little bit after that. And I was like, I need to play around with that. That looks fun. And took it out like the first cast, man, caught a double, 2 big smallmouth. And I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest bait ever. I'll never put it down. I'll never fish anything else again. And, I had a pretty good day that day. But, after I got the footage, even if you're out there for a while, there's still big lulls, between. So don't ever believe anything you see on YouTube, people. I mean, you got to edit out. It's pretty boring the time between catches. Well, if you've experienced watching the pros, I don't care if they're using live scope or not. If you watch one of those guys all day, it's pretty. Fishing is like golf. It's funner to do than watch.
That's right.
And so, so I kind of figured out, a free editor and edited it up, and which I've got a little background in that too. And, showed it to my wife and kids and one of my buddies, and they're like, you need to put that on YouTube. And I was like, no. I was like, the first 13-year-old foul-mouthed fat kid in his basement that comes up and starts running his mouth, I'm a Gen Xer, I'm 51. I'm going to be like, son, I'm going to come to your house, take my belt off, shove a bar of soap in your mouth, and whoop you like your mommy should. I mean, it's just, I'm used to screaming at 17-year-old fat boys, letting them have it out on the football field, running them till they puke, And, so I wasn't really used to taking that kind of abuse. So, it's, I just got into it, and they just kept telling me I should do it. And, I got thinking about it, and I was like, I never had nobody really fished around me. My dad did, and I'd fish at my uncle's pond once in a while, like maybe 2-3 times. My papa fished, but he was meat angler only. It was crappie and every once in a while white bass, but I didn't get to go with him a whole lot. Mom wouldn't really let me go with him because he liked the rum and coke a little much back then. Yeah, she didn't really trust him too much. Great man, I love him. Sorry, Papa. But but he, as we got older, he did have a little John boat on a little municipal lake, and of course we bought every single bait that Roland Martin and Bill Dance and all those guys, because Hank Parker told us that we should buy. We seen the banjo minnow and the light up crankbaits. But the spinner, the Roland Martin spinner bait there, the little top spin or whatever.
Wasn't that the helicopter bait or something?
The helicopter bait, yes. So hey, I will say this though: the one thing that he was not wrong about was 110% the Cinco. I'll never forget that commercial when they kind of first come out and Roland was promoting it. And he goes, there was some kid, I can't remember who it was. I don't know why I'm blurry all of a sudden here. But
you cleared up.
There we go. I just had to move around and get my big fat head in focus. But I'll never forget that commercial. There's a little kid on the dock, and he goes, hey, mister, how you catching all those fish? And he goes, with this right here, the Gary Yamamoto Cinco. He throws him a pack of them, and that kid goes, how do you fish them? He goes, you don't fish them, they fish for you. And I was like, yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, though, when them first things come out, like you thought the chatterbait was hot and the A-Rig was hot, gosh almighty, throwing them on 10-pound monofilament trilene, smooth casting. way back before, you had any sort of fluorocarbon. I could still barely spell fluorocarbon.
I think I was fishing a trick worm, like a wacky rig before.
Oh yeah.
Come out.
Yeah.
Kid,
Yeah. I remember fishing a river and rigging up a drop shot before drop shots were ever heard of, because I was like, if I could put that weight on the bottom. And I just took me a bullet weight, tied it around there, and tied my hook up here so that the current would.
Yeah.
So I'm old, people. I'm old.
That's like I've always wanted to try put a shaky head on the bottom
Mm.
and then tie you a drop shot.
Yeah. Now I've seen people do tubes. I've seen people do tubes that way.
Tubes do that away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the fishing world has come a long way. If none of y'all have ever watched Retro Bassin, have you ever watched Retro Bassin?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that he's found in shops and everything. Y'all have never watched him. Go over there and watch his channel. You'll be like, holy cow, what kind of bait is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. And a lot of baits are just, it's the same. Like a lot of the baits you see that he'll put on there.
Yeah.
It looks so much like newer baits, and you can kind of see what they were thinking,
Yeah.
Now, some baits are just out there, but some baits you're like, that was the first whopper plopper, really.
Yeah, the old creep chug.
Yeah.
It was just a piece of wood with a V in the mouth.
It's like every once in a while, I'll get somebody that'll say something. I do a lot of baits, talk about a lot of baits, how to fish them. And because that's really kind of what I love to do. I love to talk about a lot of baits, different times of year, and how you can throw this bait and show the bass a little bit of something different. And sometimes people will be like, well, does it catch fish? I'm like, well, man, I can give you references if that's your scale of how good a bait is. I've seen iPhones, lettuce, wood blocks. I mean, but catching a bass on a bait might not necessarily be the best judgment, of how good a bait is.
Yeah, I was before you came on with me, I was talking about some of the YouTubers, how the Guggen Squad got started, and everybody kind of followed them and doing their crazy stuff, and I was talking about Kicking Their Bass TV, which is Noah Piscatelli, and Fishing with Norm, and Fletcher the Fisherman. They were out there doing a restaurant challenge where they went to a restaurant, got them an appetizer, got them a main course meal and a dessert, and I think one of them caught a bass on a strawberry.
Yeah. Listen, I will say this: where I'm at, I want to know where all those really stupid bass are. Because,
well, and I'm not trying to break them down or nothing.
No, look, they are entertainers.
They are entertainment. That's truly what they are. They're YouTube entertainment. Some of the stuff that they do is kind of stupid sometimes and makes you laugh.
Yeah.
But
see, I don't have to try that hard to be stupid. I'm pretty good at it. Just
me too. I'll be feeling like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
What was that? Stupid or what?
Yeah, the video I dropped yesterday, I'm sitting there picking out a knot in my reel, and it's a open face, spinning reel, and I was fishing, and I seen a fish, and I'm old school, like I don't trust drag at all, so I turned I reverse off so that I can back reel.
Right.
And put my line right in that perfect spot so I can hold it and make that cast. Well, I was watching my live scope and I was like, yep, they're out here. I think I seen some moving on this point. And so I was like, I'm gonna make that cast. And I threw out there. Well, I forgot to drop the bell, but the reel goes, whoa, about beats my fingertips off. Well, as I'm sitting there picking it out, there's a cast worth or half a cast of line out. I'm just sitting there drifting, trying to get that out. And all of a sudden the rod goes,
I've had that done with bait caster.
Yeah.
You're taking out a bait caster, and all of a sudden where's my line going?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I couldn't reel it. I was like, oh, I got a fish. Oh, it won't reel. I was like, oh. You know.
So, but yeah, man, thank you for joining me.
Man, and again, I cannot apologize enough. I'm
so apologize, man. I know how work is. I
wished I would have texted you, but I got into dealing with stupidity, and then I kind of was like, I was driving home, and when you text, I was like, oh, I was like, I just realized, and I stepped on it then.
No, you're good, man. But yeah, thank you for joining me, man. Well, what my plan is to go through everybody who have on this year is kind of invite them back at the end of the year and have it like a round table.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Kind of bring in about 10 people and just shoot the crap and have an end of year like podcast party and like that. But hope your fishing goes well for you rest of the year. Hope your YouTube continues to grow for you. If y'all don't subscribe to him, go over there and hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up on them and that notification bell on any videos of any YouTubers you watch. That helps the algorithm a little bit if you know what I mean. But but yeah, this Hank, sir, I know you got a family, a wife to get to. My wife's in there sitting on the sofa.
Well, listen, I'll talk all night. My wife's at work till 9 o'clock, so I'm good to go.
You first go pop your cold beer. That's what you.
Yeah, that's right. I got 2 in the fridge, ready to go.
But got to say the Braves pulled it out today against the Brewers. They've been breaking my heart lately. I don't know who do y'all cheer for in West Virginia on baseball?
Well, you know, back when I was growing up, you had 2 channels with baseball, TBS, WGN. So I pulled for the Braves, but I made the huge mistake. But I'm a loyal human of becoming a Cubs fan when I was a kid. And man, that was a huge mistake.
I don't know, man. Back in the Harry Carey days, man, and when you were watching WGN as a kid, and you know the 7th inning rolled around, you're up there singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Oh yeah. Holy cow! Yeah. And then they listen. I cried like a baby when they won the World Series.
Who did? Who don't, man? The Braves, a couple years back, the Braves won the World Series.
You know,
we were at work that night.
Yeah, I was too. And I tell you, it was what was it? I think it took them 112 years to win their next
World Series.
Yeah. They were the longest gap between World Series wins. So I remember listening to Boston whine. I'm like, you don't know what you're a bunch of crybabies. It's been 37 years since Boston. It's been 100 years since the Cubs have won a World Series.
Yeah, for sure. So are you a West Virginia fan?
I actually live in Virginia, Southwest. Virginia. I always say that and people get it. But now I'm right, like literally
across the mountain.
West Virginia is about probably 45 minutes away. Kentucky's about 45 minutes away. Tennessee's probably 20 minutes away. North Carolina's about 30 minutes away. So we're right in the middle of it all.
So college football.
I do like West Virginia, and I like Virginia Tech. Yeah. Oh, Tennessee, it's hard, man. I just I can't do it. I just can't do it. But overall, one of the coaches that I like or the reason I started liking this team was because the head football coach was back when I was a young kid, was originally a head football coach for West Virginia, and that is Bobby Bowden.
Bobby
So
Bowden.
I am a Florida State. I have been a Florida State fan for 30 plus years, probably.
Yeah, Bobby was a hell of a coach.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you once again, Hank. The BassGeek. If y'all
Dude,
don't,
thank you.
hit him up on YouTube. Are you on Instagram and Facebook as well?
My ugly mug is everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X now, I guess. I'm everywhere.
Gotcha.
I feel
So
like Lee Greenwood. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. So if y'all don't follow him, subscribe, like his stuff. Hit him up if you have any questions. Leave him some bad comments, good comments, so we can see the old coach come out in him.
It does once in a while. I've had people tell me that they love my replies to some of the commenters who might not necessarily want to.
I'm gonna shoot you back to the green room, Hank. Just hang with me just a minute. Let me close out the show here.
That's fine.
On Paddle and Fin Network, I got to cover a few things with them. Hey man, if you're coming down 95 for iCast, you've got my phone number. I texted it to you earlier.
Yeah, I got it.
Hit me up, man. We can have some lunch or something. And
all right.
So if you're coming 95 southbound, I'm 2 miles from the exit.
Wow.
Yeah, from one of the Savannah exits. So
yeah,
I live in Metro Savannah. Well, outside of it, I don't live in the city limits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm gonna shoot you back to the green room, close out this show, and I'll be right back with you, sir, because I want to ask you something.
All right. Thank you, brother.
All right. Hey guys, thank you for hanging around with us. My ugly mug beginning the show. If you want to be on the show, just hit me up. The Reel Backwaters at gmail.com. You can leave a comment on my YouTube. I'll get you on the show. We'll talk fishing, talk football, talk baseball, whatever. But I want to say thank you to Hank, the BassGeek, for joining me tonight on the Reel Backwaters. And as always, this will be up on Spotify tomorrow. So you can hit me on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, all the streaming apps. You can come back and watch it on YouTube, on the Facebook, on the Paddle and Fin YouTube. But thank you once again for listening, for joining us, and hope everybody has a good Father's Day weekend. Tell all the fathers out there they are loved. Buy them a new boat, buy them a new kayak, buy them fishing gear, buy them a new gun, or whatever they need. So thank you, and peace out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide, Dustin Nichols,